2004 Indian Ocean Tsunami. On December 26, 2004, a massive undersea earthquake measuring 9.1 on the Richter scale struck off the west coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. The sudden movement of the ocean floor displaced trillions of gallons of seawater, triggering a series of towering tsunamis that radiated across the Indian Ocean. Within hours, waves as high as 30 meters slammed into the coasts of Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and 11 other nations, wiping out entire villages. More than 230,000 people lost their lives, and millions more were left homeless. It became one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. The world united in grief and aid, but the scale of destruction revealed how unprepared humanity was for nature's sudden fury. The disaster also revolutionized global tsunami warning systems, ensuring that such a tragedy would never again strike without warning. 2011 Japan earthquake and tsunami. On March 11, 2011, Japan was hit by one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded, a 9.0 magnitude megathrust quake off the northeastern coast of Honshu. The quake unleashed a tsunami over 40 meters high, sweeping through coastal towns with unstoppable force. Thousands were swept away in an instant, homes and cities erased from the map. The devastation didn't end there. The tsunami crippled the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing a catastrophic nuclear meltdown that released radiation across the region. Over 20,000 people died, while thousands more were forced to evacuate due to contamination. It became a symbol of both natural and human vulnerability, where technology and nature collided in the worst possible way. Japan's recovery continues to this day, with the disaster forever engraved in global memory as a lesson in resilience and caution. 2020 Beirut explosion. On August 4, 2020, the port of Beirut, Lebanon, was engulfed in a massive explosion that shocked the world. The blast was caused by 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive chemical stored unsafely in a warehouse for years. A fire ignited the materials, resulting in a devastating explosion equivalent to a small nuclear blast. The shockwave leveled buildings, shattered glass miles away, and created a crater over 100 meters wide. More than 200 people were killed, 6,500 injured, and 300,000 left homeless in a matter of seconds. The explosion crippled the city's economy and exposed deep governmental negligence. Videos of the moment went viral, capturing pure chaos and horror. For many Lebanese citizens, the blast symbolized not just a disaster, but the breaking point of years of political corruption and systemic failure. 2010 Haiti earthquake. On January 12, 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, one of the poorest nations in the Western Hemisphere. The quake's epicenter was near the capital, Port-au-Prince, a densely populated area with fragile infrastructure. Within seconds, buildings, schools, and hospitals collapsed. Entire neighborhoods were buried in rubble. An estimated 250,000 people died, and more than 1 million were left homeless. With rescue resources scarce and the government paralyzed, the world rushed to provide aid. However, poor coordination and corruption hampered recovery efforts. Outbreaks of cholera and displacement camps worsened the suffering. Even years later, Haiti still bears the scars of that day, a nation struggling to rebuild amid tragedy, poverty, and political turmoil. The earthquake remains one of the most catastrophic humanitarian crises of the 21st century. Chernobyl nuclear disaster. On April 26, 1986, during a routine safety test at Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Pripyat, Ukraine, a series of critical mistakes led to an explosion in Reactor 4. The blast released a cloud of radioactive material into the atmosphere, spreading across Europe. The immediate explosion killed several workers, but the radiation exposure that followed caused countless more deaths in the months and years ahead. Entire towns were evacuated, and a 30-kilometer exclusion zone was established, a ghost region that remains uninhabited to this day. Thousands of people developed cancers and other radiation-related illnesses. Chernobyl became the defining symbol of nuclear disaster. The moment the world realized the true cost of human error combined with atomic power, its ruins stand as a chilling monument to the dangers of negligence and the unseen silent threat of radiation. Hurricane Katrina. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina became one of the most devastating natural disasters in U.S. history. Originating over the Bahamas, It intensified into a Category 5 hurricane before making landfall along the Gulf Coast, particularly striking New Orleans, Louisiana. Though the storm's winds and rain were deadly, it was the failure of the city's levee system that turned the disaster into a catastrophe. The levees broke, flooding 80% of New Orleans, submerging entire neighborhoods beneath toxic, debris-filled water. More than 1,800 people lost their lives, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. Rescue efforts were chaotic and slow, revealing deep inequalities and governmental failures. The storm caused over $125 billion in damages, destroying homes, livelihoods, and a sense of security. Katrina exposed not only the raw power of nature, but also the fragility of human systems. A haunting reminder that sometimes it isn't the storm that kills, but what follows after. Australian bushfires. Between late 2019 and early 2020, Australia experienced one of the worst fire seasons in modern history. Known as the Black Summer, massive bushfires tore across multiple states, fueled by record-breaking heat, severe drought, and strong winds, all intensified by climate change. The flames consumed over 18 million hectares of land, destroying thousands of homes and blanketing entire cities in smoke visible from space. But the true tragedy extended beyond human loss. An estimated 3 billion animals were killed or displaced, devastating ecosystems and pushing many species toward extinction. Communities were reduced to ashes. Firefighters battled around the clock, and the skies glowed a haunting orange. The fires left behind not just physical scars, but a global wake-up call, a symbol of a planet under strain, and the devastating consequences of a warming world. COVID-19 pandemic. In late 2019, an invisible enemy emerged in Wuhan, China, a novel coronavirus later named SARS-CoV-2. Within months, it spread across the globe, sparking the COVID-19 pandemic, the most far-reaching health crisis in modern history. Nations went into lockdown, hospitals overflowed, and economies ground to a halt. The virus infected hundreds of millions and claimed millions of lives, reshaping daily life and exposing vulnerabilities in global healthcare and leadership. Streets once filled with life became empty. Families were separated, and fear became a daily companion. Vaccines and medical research advanced at unprecedented speed, but the pandemic's toll, emotional, social, and economic, remains immense. The world learned how fragile human society truly is when faced with something microscopic, yet powerful enough to halt civilization itself. COVID-19 will be remembered as not just a disease, but a turning point in human history. Sichuan earthquake. On May 12, 2008, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck Sichuan province in southwest China. The quake lasted less than 3 minutes, but unleashed unimaginable destruction. Mountains crumbled, rivers shifted, and entire towns were reduced to rubble. Over 87,000 people were killed, and millions were left without homes. The quake's devastation was worsened by the collapse of thousands of poorly built school buildings, which claimed the lives of countless children, sparking outrage and grief across the nation. The Chinese government launched one of the largest rescue operations in its history, with soldiers, volunteers, and medical teams racing against time. The scale of the tragedy united the country but also revealed deep systemic issues in construction and safety standards. Years later, memorials still stand in the ruins of Sichuan, silent witnesses to a day when the earth itself turned against humanity. Nepal earthquake. On April 25, 2015, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck Nepal, devastating the Kathmandu Valley and surrounding regions. The quake was so powerful, it triggered avalanches on Mount Everest, killing climbers and blocking rescue routes. In cities and villages, centuries-old temples, monuments, and homes crumbled within seconds, burying thousands beneath the debris. Nearly 9,000 people were killed, and tens of thousands were injured. The aftermath was a humanitarian crisis. Millions were left without shelter, food, or clean water, and continuous aftershocks kept the nation in fear. Historical and cultural heritage sites, some over 1,000 years old, were reduced to dust. The disaster united global relief efforts, but rebuilding Nepal proved slow and difficult due to poverty and geography. The earthquake became a reminder of how swiftly beauty, history, and life itself can be erased by the power of nature.